What is going on, everybody? Chris here, and yes, the title is accurate. I am kind of debating, throwing around the idea of moving on from the Cybertruck. It's not concrete, not set in stone, but I do think I'm going to do it, and I have a lot of reasons that I want to do it, and a lot of reasons to move on to a different Tesla vehicle. It would still be a Tesla vehicle. And I'm still not sure exactly what new vehicle I would want to get, though. So in this video, we're just going to talk about, my Cybertruck, why I'm kind of thinking of doing this, and then also which vehicle I'm thinking of switching to. And hopefully y'all can give me some advice and some feedback in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are based off of kind of what I say, but you're also your personal opinion and, kind of the vehicles that you like and everything. So let's get into it. Now, I have several reasons that we're going to go over for potentially moving on from the Cybertruck. Number one, of course, like most of these types of decisions, is financial. The Cybertruck is a really expensive vehicle. And yes, it has taken a huge, gigantic depreciation hit. Of course, this is a Foundation Series all-wheel drive. So it was $100,000. And, Tesla told people at the time, like, yep, we're doing this Foundation Series. The vehicle is $80,000, but you're going to have to pay, $100,000. And you'll get all these options with it. And when you do the math on all the included accessories, like the full self-driving, the upgraded tires, some of the floor mats, all the other stuff, the power share that they gave you, it ended up being a normal, like upcharge. It's not like you were paying a huge premium to get it early. Some people said you were paying about $1,000 or $2,000 to get it early. Some people said it was actually really dead even, but somewhere around there. With that said, though, if an auto manufacturer comes out of the vehicle and says, all right now it's going to be $100,000, but in X amount of time, you can get it for $80,000. You got to imagine that, unless you were one of the first people to sell it and flip it and get banned from purchasing from Tesla, you were going to lose money. I mean, it was part of the calculation. And for me personally, now a lot of this is going to get into YouTube stuff. So I know that not everyone can relate, but I want to share with you guys. I'm always trying to be open on what I do on this channel and, why I'm doing it and stuff like that. So, I had sponsors for this truck. So Joa helped out massively, and then also Enhance Auto, the maker of Sexy Buttons. They were, sponsors of the truck, and they made it happen. Without them, I wouldn't have had no Cybertruck videos. I would have had no Cybertruck. And though actually some of my best videos now are Cybertruck videos on the YouTube channel. This is not all about YouTube, but I guess we'll talk about it at this part. So it was definitely worth it. The setup I had and what I did, even taking into account that initial, there's gonna be a 20 grand drop, right off the bat. And then everything on top of that, of course, the normal depreciation of a vehicle, and then all the Elon stuff and the politics, which, I don't really want to get into, but unfortunately, it's like a fact of owning this truck at this point. It's part of it. Whether you care or not is a different story, and don't argue about it down in the comments because I don't care. But it's a fact, of owning a Cybertruck. It's just part of it. And so, some people, really don't want to buy it because of that now. Some people really want to buy it now because of that. So it might end up balancing itself out. But overall, Cybertrucks have taken a huge depreciation hit. With that said, because of the way I purchased this, and this was planned from the beginning, because of the sponsorships and blah, 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 I can actually sell this vehicle and come out ahead on it. And kind of get some money back. And so it's just, I'm not a millionaire. I'm, whatever. This truck is too expensive for me to own. And so that's kind of the number one reason is I could extract some money out of it, move on to, a different Tesla vehicle, which we'll talk about how and why, and come out way, way ahead in terms of a lot of things. But financially, that's kind of, the number one thing right there is the financials. And then on top of that, talking about sponsors and financials, if you're concerned about financials, you should definitely check out today's sponsor, Delete Me. Use my link down below to save 20%. Data brokers are collecting your data from all over the internet, your name, address, phone number, social security number, your birthday, your email, your coworkers, your friends, your family, and they are selling that to third parties. And unfortunately, this can lead to identity theft, phishing, or other scams. Delete Me can actually get your data removed from these data brokers. There are hundreds or maybe even thousands of these data brokers out there collecting your information, compiling it on the internet, and selling it. And Delete Me can help you remove that information, your personal information, from the internet. I have been using Delete Me for a year and a half now, and in my opinion, it is a really valuable service that you should definitely check out. Every few months, they send me a report. They show me where all my data has been deleted from, and there was a ton of data being deleted over time, and now there's not so much because they've removed most of my data from all of these websites. But despite despite that, it keeps popping up at new places, and Delete Me is on top of it, continuing to remove my information from new sources when it shows up. So thank you again to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. Check out that link down below, save 20% and get your information deleted from the internet. Now moving on to my next reason for kind of wanting to move on to the Cybertruck, and this is all personal stuff. I'm just sharing with you kind of how I feel now that I've owned it for over a year, and this is kind of my daily driver. It's the attention you get in the Cybertruck. And I know it's kind of crazy because you're like, what did you expect? You're in a Cybertruck. And when I first got it, I was on board. I was like, I know that a lot of people are going to want to see this. A lot of people are going to ask questions or stare or whatever. Like, who cares? It's fine. And that's how it was for, I would say, 6 or 7 months, somewhere around there. And it was just like crazy. Like, especially the first like couple of months, people were driving off of highways, taking pictures of you. You couldn't go anywhere without parking and someone coming up to the Cybertruck and asking you questions. And as like a nerd that's talking to a camera and talking to all of you about Tesla and electric vehicles and stuff, I loved it. It was fun. It was a good time. But sometimes you just want to go out, do something really quick. You don't want to have a full conversation. You don't want to be stopped, or you're with your kids and you're just trying to get stuff done. And it really faded after that first 6 or 7 months. And then we got to talk about stuff that I wouldn't normally talk about on this channel. But again, it's just a fact of owning this vehicle. Then there was that like terrorist attack at like one of the Trump hotels or something. I forget exactly what the guy's motive was or whatever. But he blew himself up in the Cybertruck. It's so weird. Why am I talking about this? But he blew himself up in the Cybertruck. And I remember we were in Florida, the second time we had taken the Cybertruck to Florida. And we go, man, it's so nice. We had literally said this the day before. It is so nice. This time we're driving around Florida. We don't have everyone staring at us. People aren't taking pictures. Because Cybertrucks were like kind of normal at this point. They were, you know, like pretty common. And we were, you know, my wife and I were just agreeing like, yeah, this is great. Like finally, like we don't have people staring at us and taking pictures. We can go through a drive-through and people aren't asking a million questions. Then that guy did that. And the next day, everyone's staring. Everyone's looking at it. A guy came up to me the next day and asked me a million questions, and I didn't know if, you know, that was why. And at the end, he goes, well, at least you know it's safe now. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So there was that. And then, of course, all of Elon's stuff in politics. And again, I'm not getting into whether you think it's good or bad. The fact of the matter is, whether you like Elon or dislike him or any of that, the Cybertruck is tied to all of that now. It's just the way it is. Now, do I think you should run out and sell your Tesla because you don't like Elon? No, that's ridiculous and makes no sense in my opinion. But again, people are going to attach you to that. They're going to attach the Cybertruck to that. And this is not a main reason at all for selling the Cybertruck or thinking about moving on from it. If this was the only reason, there'd be no chance. I would definitely keep the Cybertruck. And I guess I should add to that. I meant to say in the financial part, if I had infinite money, I'd have a Cybertruck in my driveway. There's no question. I would definitely be keeping it because I love the thing. But that is now part of owning it, and going down the road and getting flicked off all the time or getting thumbs down, or, you know, I got a peace sign the other day, I get a thumbs up, people are smiling at it. So, you know, you still get everything, but you get a lot more of people that are just like mad at you for no reason. I had road rage the other day where this guy was tailgating me, flashing his lights at me, honking the horn at me. He even swerved towards the Cybertruck at one time. You know, it just kind of gets old. I'm not going to lie. And again, it's not that alone wouldn't kind of make me move on from the Cybertruck, and I'm still purchasing another Tesla. So it doesn't really affect anything in that way, but it does get old to have that happening all the time. Now, I'm saying happens all the time, but most of the time when I'm like on my normal commute going to work and stuff like that, I don't see anything, and maybe it's just because I'm not paying attention. But when you go out, especially like on a weekend or you're driving around on a sunny day, people are just constantly interacting with you, and it just gets old. I'm not gonna lie, it gets old. And so that is part of a reason. And a lot of times, you know, when we go out as a family, we almost never take the Cybertruck because we just don't want to have to deal with that stuff, especially with my kids in the car. You know, a lot of this stuff is happening when my kids aren't around, so I really don't care. But if my kids are around, if they're in the car, I get a lot more weary of that stuff. I don't want that stuff happening. I don't want angry tailgating, you know, swerving at me people when my kids are in the car. None of that is acceptable. I think most people would agree with that. But especially when my kids are around, it's like, nope, I don't want any of that. So this is like a fact of owning the Cybertruck. If you're thinking of buying it and you're like, oh, I don't care, like let people flick me off or whatever, like, okay, cool, you can do that. But I'm sharing that that's a fact of Cybertruck ownership at this time. Now, in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, is that going to be a fact? No, I wouldn't think so. There will be even more of them on the road. People forget. I mean, people already are moving on from all the vandalism and all that. Thankfully, that passed really quickly. But still, I mean, I'm talking about like yesterday. You know, we're in mid-April right now. We're like at the end of April right now. And I'm talking about yesterday, people were, you know, flicking me off. So yesterday driving, I got first a peace sign, then I got middle finger, then I got thumbs down, then I got something with the hand I don't think I can do on YouTube because the video will probably get taken down. So there's, you know, a wide range of things going on. So that is another part of it. I lost a little part of the audio here, but I will spare you the details. One of my biggest complaints and annoyances is full self-driving on the Cybertruck is so much worse than the Model 3 and the Model Y. I touch on it later in the video, but it is not good, and it has pushed me over the edge. Again, it's a culmination of everything together, but full self-driving being so much worse than on our Model Y is a huge frustration for me. So now, in addition to that, the Cybertruck efficiency is really, really good when you compare it to a gas truck, but it's pretty bad when you compare it to smaller Tesla vehicles. Obviously, this is not a surprise. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's, again, just a fact. I do a lot of driving, and that's what initially got me into electric vehicles is the efficiency of them and all the driving I do. Number one, not having to go to the gas station anymore, which is beautiful still to this day. If you drive a gas car now, you might be like, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Once you don't do it anymore, it really is a big deal. And then number two, kind of the savings on the electricity and stuff. So, you know, when you go on Tesla's website, you put in a car and it's like, you could do the estimated gas savings and you'll save, you know, $6,000 over 10 years. Well, that was the opposite for me going into Cybertruck because I came from a Model Y, and Cybertruck is using, you know, 50 to 75% more energy to do the exact same driving that a Model Y does. Now, I gotta say again, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not saying like, wow, I can't believe how much energy it uses. But again, it's just the amount of driving I do without stuff in the bed and I don't tow anything. It starts to kind of eat at me like, oh my gosh, I'm using so much more energy. I've seen it in the electric bill. I see it in the solar because we use charge on solar, and very rarely can now that I have all of this going on, can my solar system charge the Cybertruck and the Model Y and our Powerwalls. It like almost doesn't happen at all anymore. So with all that said, I'm kind of missing my really nice electric vehicle efficiency that I would get back. Now, it will be really hard after having this thing to go back to not having a bed to carry stuff around, because I don't tow anything. I never have. I don't like plan on towing anything. And you can tow small things with the Model Y anyway. But the bed we use pretty often. We're putting stuff back there, big stuff back there. Either we're taking home or taking away. Like I just had to get rid of an old microwave the other day that wasn't working anymore. It's a big one. And yeah, that would fit in the back of a Model Y. But I come out here with this huge, heavy microwave, boop, just chuck it in the bed. In a Model Y, you're gonna be like, okay, let's carefully put it back here. We don't want to damage the carpet or anything. And okay, we don't want to bump the sides because it barely fits. No, this, you just chuck stuff back there. It's super tough back there. It's easy to access. The tonneau cover keeps everything, you know, sealed away and locked. So you can pick something up at any time of day, lock it up in there, keep it parked all the time. I mean, it's great. I really love that aspect. But I lived without a truck for a long time, and I can do it again. Again, I don't really want to at this point. Man, now that I'm saying this stuff out loud, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know. There's a lot about the Cybertruck that I absolutely love and do not want to get rid of. But yeah, those are kind of my main points. There's a few other things. I guess the other big one, this is actually probably number two. So I would say financial is the number one reason. Number two reason is the maintenance and the recalls and those kind of things. So I expected it, again, this is something that a brand new vehicle ground up, I expected to have to do a couple of fixes here and there, but they're lingering still to this day. I still have to get these, you know, they talked about these trim pieces up here that are glued on or whatever, which automotive glue is a normal thing. All vehicles use it. That those need to be recalled and replaced, which like, okay, that's another thing to do, but now I have this wrapped. And so I don't think Tesla's gonna pay for the wrap, or they're not gonna wrap it for me for sure. So even if they pay for it, I now have to take time out of my day to, number one, go to Tesla and get those recalled parts fixed. Number two, I have to go back to the wrap place and get it wrapped. Even if Tesla pays for it, that's my time, and I gotta go out of my way. It's just super annoying. And you know, those things keep popping up. You know, that window shattered. I don't wanna get into it. I have it all recorded on past videos, but the maintenance aspect and the things that are kind of like going wrong and needing recalls and stuff is getting annoying. Whereas when you go to, you know, a Model 3 or Model Y, I mean, we've had our 2023 Model Y for just about 2 years now, and I don't think we've had I don't think I've taken it in for service one time. I'm trying to remember. I really don't. Maybe one, let's say one service, you know, in the 2 years. I don't think we've had any service on it. That's another experience that I want. I love the Cybertruck. And again, before I had it, when it was new, I was like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. But now living with it for over a year and still having to do these recall things, and then on my way to Tesla service, I'm getting flicked off. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, having to do these recall things, it's getting old. I mean, it's getting old. And so the financials on top of that, all these things together just kind of make me be like, all right, I think I'm ready to change once again. Now, there's a couple of things in the Cybertruck I want to point out that I'm definitely going to miss. But number one is definitely going to be the steer-by-wire. If you have not tried it, go drive a Cybertruck because the steer-by-wire is so cool. That's the other thing is FSD in the Cybertruck kind of sucks still. And every time I take our Model Y, I'm like, this is so much better. It makes me annoyed that worst version of full self-driving. And again, I drive a lot, so this is something, it might not be important to you, but to me, this is something that's important enough that it's pushing me over the edge, right? It's all these things together. On turns, on acceleration, on its overall speed, on not being able to go into reverse, not having summon. I use summon and not smart summon so much, but I use dumb summon pretty regularly. Not having those things, it's kind of getting annoying. And I could have a cheaper vehicle that has a better full self-driving experience, which my main uses for Tesla. So anyway, the steer-by-wire, I would really, really miss. The outlets in the truck, there's an outlet up here, there's an outlet in the back seat, and there's a bunch in the bed. I will miss those for sure. Every Tesla should have those. We got a gigantic battery underneath us. I don't know why, like the new Model Y doesn't have it or whatever. Yeah, Tesla really needs to bring that to other vehicles. And then of course the bed, I mean, of course I use it a lot for just loading stuff in there and just the carefree of like throwing stuff in, the suspension on this thing. It's really, really nice. Being able to lift it really high for different scenarios has been really useful as well. I'm always changing the suspension settings based on the type of driving I'm doing, where I'm driving, and then just the size inside, the comfort. It is just so nice in here. No other Tesla, maybe a Model X is similar, but even Model X, like no other Tesla can even come close to matching this in terms of the comfort and just the feel inside the cabin, especially on road trips and stuff. It is magnificent. It is so nice in here. Now included in those kind of recall is all the squeaks, like you hear that? As you're driving down the road, that kind of stuff is happening. This one, you can't hear so much. Where is it? There's something up here that will squeak, but it's mostly this. Hear that? Especially for me on the dirt roads, this stuff is moving and when I first got it, it didn't have all that. It wasn't doing it and it's kind of come loose over time. And like, God, it's just like, come on. All of this stuff, it adds up. All of that stuff adds up. Now let's move into what vehicle I potentially want to buy, get your advice, kind of talk to you about it, and why I want to, switch to this vehicle. It kind of goes back to YouTube again, at least to start. So let's go with that. Oh, I'm thinking either a Model 3 or the new Model Y. Almost guaranteed I'm going to get the new Model Y. But a performance Model 3 is really calling to me for no reason, but we'll talk about it. And the new Model Y, kind of the newest, latest Tesla thing. It has the front bumper camera, which I think will become important for full self-driving and is important to me. And it is just, I mean, it's half the price of the Cybertruck. So it makes a lot of sense in that regard. Now, just switching from Cybertruck to Model Y would be kind of crazy. But what really comes into play here is with YouTube, number one, content-wise, the Cybertruck was great in the beginning because it was new, nobody had it, it was mysterious, and people were curious about it. So I got good videos out of it, whatever. And now it's not like a high-volume vehicle. It's too expensive. Not that many people own Cybertruck. Not as many people view it or care about what is happening with it because they don't own it, and they're never going to own it, and they don't want to own it. So that's fine. It's just kind of a fact of the way it is. And again, if I had infinite money, none of that would matter. Number two, because of referrals, thank you to you guys, I have like $17,000 worth of Tesla credits that could be applied to a vehicle. So I could go to purchase the new Model Y, which, whatever the price is, 40 or something thousand. I think it's 40,000 after the tax credit, something like that. And then I could apply that 17,000 as a down payment, which is crazy. And then just have the payments from there. On top of that, Tesla has all kinds of incentives they're doing now because it seems like they're not selling a whole lot of cars, which, financially, and if you own the stock, but I own 2 shares of Tesla, so I don't really care that much. It's interesting, but doesn't affect me personally. Although it does affect me personally if I want to get a new one, because Tesla seems to keep rolling out incentives. And so when I'd probably do this is probably sometime in June as we approach the end of the quarter, and we could, and they're really pushing incentives at the most that they could. Model Y, they actually just sent me an email and they said because I owned an older Model Y, they'll give me $2,000 off the new Model Y. So you're at say 42,000 after tax credit, then you're at 40,000, then almost half of that I have in Tesla credits to move on. So I don't want to harp on that too much, but it's kind of like, duh. And I should add, these dollars do expire. You got to use them. And it seems like a good opportunity. Now, personally, I think I'd rather have the Model 3 Performance because it'd be super fun. I've never had a performance Tesla. And a Model 3 Performance, if you're not driving it too crazy all the time, can be slightly more efficient than the new Model Y. And you're probably like, what is wrong with you? Like, just stop buying vehicles. But hear me out. When Hardware 5 inevitably comes out, depending on a lot of factors, I'll probably want to get it. And so what I will do is I will take this new Model Y I'm getting like now, and then I would give that to my wife, and then we'd trade her old 2023 Model Y, which will be a lot older at that point, and I would get the new Hardware 5 Model Y, or whatever it is, and she would have the Hardware 4 one, I'd have Hardware 5, and we could go in that way. And then at that point, I'd be done buying Teslas for a very long time. My first Model 3 was like, I guess we could maybe get it. It's very expensive. We'll make it work. And now I'm sitting in a Cybertruck and thinking of just like, yeah, let's just trade it for another Tesla. I don't know. I had the Tesla website open and I'm looking at new Model Y, Model 3 performance, comparing them. It ends up being almost the exact same cost after all said and done. And then I open a tab. I'm like, let me look at Model 3 all-wheel drive. I would not want that over these two, but let me look. And that it was just like, oh my gosh, it's so cheap. And Tesla's going to keep pushing these incentives. So I'm trying to wait until June. In my opinion, they're going to have more incentives. But this is where I'm at. This is what I'm thinking. More people care about Model 3 and Model Y. It's better for content. And personally, just like driving around, I would feel more comfortable driving all over the place, going to the store, parking it all over the place, and not kind of sticking out as much. Model Y will be best-selling car in the world again, probably, maybe second best or something, but it'll be one of the most popular cars. And so, again, I mean, probably already nobody cares, but if they do, if they are kind of seeing the new headlights and stuff, they won't in the future. So, I don't know. I feel kind of weird. I'm thinking about the comments you guys are probably leaving. I know there's a lot of angry people lately that have just been angry either at Tesla or whatever. I don't know. It's all kind of weird, but just sharing with you kind of what I'm thinking, what's going to kind of happen with the channel here soon, if you care. And I do look forward to, reading some of your comments and hearing what you think. What you think on terms of like what vehicle I should get. A lot of people are like, dude, just get the 3 Performance. It is insane, especially for the value you're getting. The comfort is good and all that. But I think Model Y would probably just fit our lifestyle a little bit better. But yeah, Cybertruck, I absolutely love it. It is such a great vehicle in like every way. In every way. And if it was shaped normally, that would be even better, I think, in my opinion. But I don't know, that may be a whole nother video. But anyway, look forward to talking to you down in the comments. You will see me in the next video.